Welcome back. Uh, this video might look a little out of place because it's going to replace, or it's going to be inserted where a video should have been, but unfortunately the camera shut off on me as I was filming, and so I didn't capture any of what I was filming. And what I was filming was instructions on how to make a cope joint, and that's a cope joint, and I'm going to do it again for you. But I did cope this, and I'm going to show you what a cope joint is. If you don't know what a cope joint is, a cope joint allows us to join two pieces of crown on an inside corner, okay, without too much worry about large gaps or misaligned angles. So if, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up or not, but trust me, I'm going to say it. This cope joint, you can see how tight it is, okay, it fits pretty tight. Requires very little caulking, and I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up or not, but I'm going to rock the piece back and forth. It doesn't rocking it back and forth, the mismatched angles doesn't affect this by much at all. I mean, within reason, okay. So you can have an inside corner that's 88.5 degrees, or you can have one that's 92 degrees, and this is still going to work. So when you cope a joint, you don't have to worry about an inside corner, about precise angle mating. So let me get this out of the way, because this is not the piece I'm going to do right now. What I am going to do is we got a new piece over here, and it's a long piece, and what I'm going to do is I have a piece I have to make that's going to be 6 foot long, and it's going to have a cope on each end. Now that's pretty unusual. Most of the time you only need cope on one end, but in this particular area, for reasons I don't want to get into right now, I think it would be easier for me to put cope on both ends of this. So what I'm going to do is, when you begin a cope, first off, I don't recall what I've already taped, so if I'm repeating myself, forgive me. This is the way the crown molding sits up on the wall. This is the top, this is the bottom. We cut crown upside down. Now, in this particular case, I gotta make a cope on two ends, okay? But for your benefit, I'm gonna show you what to do if you need to make a cope on the right-hand side of a board, okay? The right-hand cope. What you're gonna do is you're gonna flip the crown upside down, like I'm doing right now. It's upside down. We cut everything upside down in the saw. We put it in our cradle, and this should have been in the previous video if I splice this in properly, will we? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an inside corner, and this is how you cut an inside corner, by the way, for a right hand inside corner. In order to cope, you have to have an inside corner cut. Okay, we cope. The coping's done on a regular inside corner. So I'm going to just cut an inside corner. So in order to cut an inside corner on this board, on the right-hand side of the board, I need to set my saw to 45 degrees right. Okay, and that's what I got right here, right now. And I'm going to see if I'm on the molding, and I'm not. And here I am on the molding. Now you know what these blocks are for. They're keeping the spring angle at the correct angle when I cut. And forgive me if my arms get away when I cut, but so I'm going to cut an inside corner on this. I didn't quite go through all the way, and I got a problem here with this saw. There's interference on this saw. It dents the crown molding if it's not set up right. It only does it on the right side when you're cutting the right side. This is a sliding compound miter. So let me lock it here. This is where it should have been. I should have had it locked there before I started. What happened was it didn't cut all the way through, and it dented the top of the molding here. So anyway, with that out of the way, it's not the topic of this video. Okay, so I got one side cut. It's an inside corner, and now I need another inside corner on the left side. Okay. And so I know the board size has got to be 6 feet, 6 feet and 3/4 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go long on it, a little bit long, and I'm going to cut another inside corner. But this time it's going to be on the left side. Okay? Okay, sorry about that. So I got my tape measure and I got a pencil. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put this at 0. I don't have a workbench, but I'm going to be doing my measurements on the saw here. And I saw this in another video, and it was a really good idea, I thought, when you're measuring crown, to line the crown up with the slot in the saw. And you gotta pull out the money. Pull this out a little bit, so that you get an accurate measurement, so that you got something to hook your saw on. So I hope that's in the picture. It should be. The crown molding right now, this inside corner, is right at the edge of the saw here, and I'm going to measure the length of the crown by hooking my tape on this way onto the saw. I'm going to measure out my 6 foot, let's say about 1 inch. And that's where I'm going to put my next inside corner. And so I might have to make 1 or 2 trips inside to make sure that it fits between the walls, because it is an inside corner to an inside corner. So before I do any coping, that's what I'm going to do. That's kind of unique because I'm making a cope on both sides. Now, to make a cope on the left-hand side of the board, we are going to do the same thing we did before, upside down. Okay, put it in the guides here. Find my pencil mark. We're going to move the saw to the left 45 degrees for an inside corner on the left side of a piece of crown molding. This is where some skills have to, you have to develop some skills, by the way. You have to be, if this were exactly, where I put my pencil mark is exactly where I wanted a precise cut, I have to be aware of which side the blade is on this side or that side of my mark. because it matters. If it's on the wrong side, the saw puts an 1/8 inch kerf in there, it's going to be about an eighth inch too short. That's why I intentionally made this board longer than it needs to be. I'm going to get up on the ladder and I'll fit it, see if it fits. If it doesn't, I'll come back here and I'll fine tune this inside corner until I do get it to fit. So let's cut this inside corner. And I said it's going to intentionally be on the long side. Get the spring angle right. Got a little, tiny little piece that always sticks right here on the bottom. Now I notice, I can see my mark here, I notice this is long, so I might take another whack at it. Okay, so I got this thing fitting between the two walls, and I'm happy with the fit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cope. Now, I could put this thing up on the wall just the way it is right now, because it's got two inside corners. All I need to do is cut two pieces that made up to it inside the house. Another inside corner to inside corner, and or 90-degree inside corner, and theoretically they should fit. But the walls are not 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do is cope this. And as I showed you earlier, that will eliminate any error that we have in the wall. It could be 88 degrees, 89, whatever it might be. The way we do a cope, first of all, let me show you what I'm using here. I got two saws here. One is, actually I have three saws here, but one is a sheetrock saw, wallboard saw, as you can see, pretty rough saw. The other one is just a hacksaw blade in a handle. I think you can get these anywhere now, but I got this at Harbor Freight. And you also have a coping saw. This is what a carpenter uses on, if this were real wood, this would be the saw that they would be using. They also use jigsaws and things with special foots on them, but homeowners would use a coping saw. I don't find a coping saw too useful for this foam crown molding. I find it much easier just to use the wallboard saw for rough, very rough cutting, and then the hacksaw blade, and I end up with perfect copes every time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a lot of material out of this, out of the back of this, and I'll be sawing in this direction behind you. And as a matter of fact, this is the problem I always have with the camera. I'll be in the way of the camera, so let me see how I can reposition so you can see what's going on here. Tripod here. We'll try that. See how that works. But you just got to understand that you're looking at the back of this now. And so what I'm going to do is get this saw, and I'm going to start rough cutting back here to take material out. Take a lot of material out at one time. This would probably be easier if you had a table or something. My house, right now the garage is a mess and everything's a mess because I don't have an empty table to put this thing on. I have to do it on the saw here. So the idea right now is just to get a whole bunch of material out of the back of this thing. Now, of course, I should say, probably should have said before, you can see there's, you know, there's a finished edge here, and that's what we're going to be fine cutting to, this finished paint edge right here. Okay, so you don't want to bust through that right now. So I'm taking material out of the back here, but I'm being very careful not to come anywhere near this edge. So that's the edge, the final edge we're going to cut to. Okay, close enough. Now we're going to use the hacksaw, and let's see if it would be easier to look at that way. Not easier for me. So, I don't know how well you're going to see, probably not very. Move the camera for you again. Let's see if I can. First off, let me get this thing straight. Okay. Let me see if I can keep my fat butt out of the way. And this little piece here, this is for your benefit. I ordinarily would not start there, but I'm kind of cutting this thing upside down. I would ordinarily have it pointed the other way. So, and this looks hard to do, but it's really not. Okay. That's actually the easiest part of it is the flat part right here. The easiest part to cut. And it's kind of shallow right now because I did that all for your benefit. Now we're going to follow this line to the very bottom. That's the cut I just made. I don't know if you can see it or not. And I'm going to come up from the bottom here. And then I'm going to start breaking some of this stuff out of here. If you don't cut it at a steep angle in the back here, you'll have trouble mating the pieces up. So. Trying to be I'm not, this thing is terrible on here. I wish I had a workbench. Okay. I'm more concerned with the angle back here than anything else. Make sure I get enough material out of the back. Otherwise, this ain't gonna work. Okay. I should have cut the other side first because the other side is easier to cut. With this at the bottom here, it's easier to cut. If I weren't filming this, I would be doing this on the other side of the saw, upside down. It's actually easier to cut when it's like this, okay, flat. But for the benefit of the camera, I'm doing it this way, which is the only way I can do it. I can't, well, maybe I can now, but then you won't be able to see the line here. I don't know if you can see the line or not, but trust me, we're going to the paint line here. We're almost there. Okay, there you have it. That's our first coat. And thankfully, the camera didn't shut off this time. Let's see what it looks like. Piece of scrap here. I always forget which way the stuff goes. This one will go this way. I'm going to be hitting the ceiling up there now. Okay, we're looking good. Okay, that's our first coat. Got one more to do on the other side. And you'll forgive me if I do that out of camera's view. It's this one here. I'm sure you get the gist of it. So this one cuts very easily from this position. It's because it's more stable in this position. All right, I'm going to shut this down for right now, and I'll get this done.